Hey, Dr. Barrios, this is Vanetta Bethea, and this is my critique of my role play with the mother and son and the concerns that they had between each other, the miscommunication actually that they had between each other. And I first want to say that I thank the participants for assisting me, but I also wanted to say what I tried to do was open up with an icebreaker of the session just to relax the two and talk about something very general, and then move into why they were there. And according to Welch, it is a better idea when working with this theory to open up your group sessions with a icebreaker. And so that's what I proceeded to do. And once I completed that, I noticed during the icebreaker, and excuse me for my sinuses, but once I noticed in the icebreaker that the mother and the son, you can immediately tell the tension between the two, because the things that they chose to describe as what they felt was funny, something funny, they did sarcastic remarks and slander towards each other, which is the first thing that I noticed. And that's the meaning of what the icebreaker does. It sort of gives the therapist an idea of what type of communication and common ground, try to put them on some type of common ground, and gives them an idea of what's really going on. So that's what this icebreaker actually did in this particular role play. Then I moved into their actual issues, and the mother expressed several times, as well as the son, that they felt disrespected by one another. And immediately I noticed that boundaries had been broken and there was a power imbalance. The mother did not feel that the son was abiding by her rules, and he felt like he was grown enough that he should not have to follow by his rules, although he was in her household. And I tried very hard not to put my own bias within what I felt whenever they made certain comments, whether I agree with them or not. My goal was to facilitate and have them to see each other's perspective, hence doing the role play. And in the role plays, I don't think I brought out the emphasis of how the other person felt whenever they did what they did. Brought out that other person's perspective well enough. The mother said that her son ignored her. So just having him understand, I tried to emphasize in it that that's how she felt. And so these are things that needed to be improved as in his behavior. And so another thing, one of her also complaints was that he would not do certain things or tasks that she asked him to, and there was always some type of defiant behavior behind it when she did. So I'm trying to understand his perspective as to why he couldn't do it, and bringing that out in complimenting them in the things that they do well together, which they had some interests that they shared together, and they seemed to have spent time together prior to him being unemployed. And so assisting them in problem tracking, and that's what they identified in the session, is that yes, ever since I lost my job that we've been having this miscommunication. And then he brought out also in the session that, since his unemployment, his emotions had gotten the best of him. The interventions that I used in the theory were supportive system, problem tracking, having them notate the behavior of one another, role plays, and Also, managing their stress level, asking them what are things that we can do to help alleviate some of the stress that you're feeling. And also, with Eric, helping to, not that we could resolve his unemployment issues, but pointing him in the right step of what needs to be done to help motivate him so that he can move towards that. The mother was adamant that she is on the verge of throwing him out of the home, and so he understands that. And another thing that he brought out is that he felt like he was being lectured. So identifying where each other is coming from and why they have the behaviors behind what they do is very, very important in understanding. And I think we identified that in this session. Some improvements on my part, it would be to directly horn in on some of the discrepancies that were stated in the counseling session. He felt like his mother was being lectured, but yet he would not do some of the things that she asked him to do. So pointing those things out and facing those without allowing them to be off the hook. So I would like to, that's one thing I would like to improve on. Another thing too is in resolution. Being able to directly assist the family in resolving their issues more directly. I thoroughly enjoyed facilitating the therapy group. And as in the session 2, they were able to do some of the homework, which improved their communication with one another. Many times if you write things down and take out what they feel is a common stress of that problem, helping people not concentrate so much on the problem, but identifying that there are a lot of other things going on other than that one problem. There is a point where you don't feel that problem is not always the main focus. So focusing in on things that are outside of that problem, not ignoring or denying, but now not allowing the problem to be a core issue and a pressure point each and every time they see that person, helps alleviate and gives room for clear communication. The roles were initially in session 1 were not clear. And executive power, which is held with the mother, she allowed some of her executive power over to her son because he made a decision he did not want to do what she said. And to a certain point, she was allowing it, although it was frustrating her and overwhelming her. But as the theory says, there were some limitations. One of their common activities was going to church. And with this theory, you don't dwell so much on spirituality because it's deemed a part of the emotional life of a person, which will go with the theory, family emotion theory. So I felt a bit limited in not being able to elaborate a little bit more on that, since that was a common denominator for them. Also, being careful not to put my own biases, which is another limitation of the theory. And focusing more on external things and not the internal things was a bit complicated, because there are many times I wanted to ask, how did you feel? I had temptations in going more into the emotional side, which with this theory, you're not able to do that. So those were some of the limitations I did feel while counseling them. But what we did do was help restructure and find out why the deviant behavior was there, which we found out why. And then it ended up changing in session 2, which would make us move toward termination. With this theory, once again, it's not a long-lasting, something like person-centered, where you would have elongated sessions with an individual. This theory is more, and the social worker within this theory or practitioner within this theory practicing it is more direct, and it causes for action. So therefore, you don't have as many sessions as you normally would with the theory person-centered or even family emotion. This concludes my critique of this session. Thank you.